Here we are.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, my pleasure.
This is the third time we're sitting down in front of the camera to talk. First time was when I stole your video idea without knowing it, and you were kind enough to forgive me, and I still owe you for the rest of my life. And it was in a cafe where music was booming, but still it was a great conversation. Second one was in your dojo.
Yep.
Where we discussed about my journey.
Yep.
And then this is the third one where we are in a Japanese-looking village in Poland.
Yep.
Which blew my mind. And we are in KNX 21.
My annual seminar.
Yep. Which is amazing. People should try it out. So as I said, I want to make this conversation as interesting as possible. So I think I'll mix up questions, a few questions from the audience, but also a few personal questions.
Right.
Because I think people do want to know you.
Yeah.
What's behind the
facade
famous, or the famous, mysterious Jesse Enkamp? So okay, I'll start with this question, and if it's a stupid question, you let me know.
I like stupid questions because they make me look smart.
How do I create stupid questions? Okay, so let's start with this one. If you would be able to go back to the past,
yeah,
and give advice to your young self,
yeah,
what would be that advice?
What would be bad advice?
No, what would be your advice to your younger self?
What that advice would be?
Yeah, present, current you.
I would probably say that sometimes it's more important to be kind than to be right.
Yeah.
Because as somebody who likes to over-intellectualize things and who loves learning and who values knowledge almost above anything else, sometimes maybe that has a cost. Because, for instance, if I'm teaching something or training with somebody, it's also important to consider not just the logical thinking, but also the emotional side of things. And I think I wasn't really that good at it. And still, it's a struggle because I can come off as arrogant even because I value cold, hard facts and knowledge and learning to such a high degree that sometimes that other brain half gets forgotten in the process. So I'm learning slowly how to merge those better and become more of a complete, not just martial artist, but also human being. Yeah, so that's probably what I would say to myself. Sometimes it's more important to be kind than to be right.
I guess my next question will essentially probably just make you follow up from that, but what would you wish for your future self? I don't know if this,
so what I hope is that I'm able to continue doing what I love, because that's what I'm doing right now. And I wouldn't want to change that. Yeah. So I guess it's just staying in good enough health so that I can keep doing this. Yeah.
What drives you?
What drives me is this. I guess it's about self-development and like searching for your some kind of purpose. I guess for a meaningful sense of contributing to a community, to other people, a sense of belonging. Yeah, and I think that's what drives everyone. Yeah, we just gotta find our community, our place. And I couldn't find that, so I created it myself. And here we are.
You just said you couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Well, I call myself a karate nerd.
Yeah.
I couldn't find a group of like-minded, passionate karate nerds out there. So I started my blog. I started writing articles from Okinawa when I was living there. I started sharing my experience, and gradually...
Hi.
Vi gör en liten interview. She's speaking Swedish with my mom. She just interrupted us. See, I actually bring my family to these things because this is a way of life for me, and my family feels the same.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So that concludes my question, my answer.
Cool. So karate nerds, you felt like there weren't enough karate nerds around you, and so you go out.
Can I sting it? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, don't worry. I thought your family knows how you work.
They don't. No, they don't understand the YouTuber life. Because that's all I am. A simple YouTuber.
That's a joke, by the way.
I know.
Can you tell about that on record? Like you...
Oh no, I hate that term.
Okay, you don't like...
To be a YouTuber is the worst thing you can call me, basically.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
No, because it's such a simple-minded, like limiting approach or label. I don't like labels at all in general.
Yeah.
Unless they're very broad, right? But to be a YouTuber, I mean, that just means you upload videos to a website. I mean, that's such a small-minded way of thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to think big.
Yeah.
So that's just basically why. You could call me a creator if you want to.
Yeah.
I think that's better. Or I hate the term influencer as well. Let's not go there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's, I was ignorant about that when we met. Without any ill intention, but I knew you for YouTube because that's where I hang out.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the first conversations we had. You mentioned like, it's like that term. It's like not the term you would choose.
Yeah.
And then you started telling me about all the things you do, and I was like, holy crap! And sometimes sometimes I have this excuse.
Yeah.
Like let's say somebody achieves something great,
Okay.
and because I aim big as well usually, and then I look at others at examples, and somebody achieves something amazing, and then I'm like, well, but they were 35, and I'm 30, like about to be 32, and that means they had more time, and by the time I get to their age, I'm gonna be fine, and then we're more or less of the same age, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, is it okay if I ask your age?
Well, you know what they say: comparison is the thief of joy. So
it's a good saying. Write that down.
I think you should only compare yourself to yourself.
I know, but that's hard.
Well, I mean, look back at your old stuff and see how much you've improved. I mean, that's proof right there.
Yeah. That actually did happen. Like I looked at some of the videos, and I thought they're great. Like some of them like have like the Steven Seagal video. That was one of the first viral videos of mine. It has like 2 million views. So it's like it's like big video, and I'm like it's so good.
Yeah.
And then recently I turned it on. I was like, holy shit, it's terrible. It's like I sounded weird. I sounded like some robot. Obviously, the mic was really bad, and I was like, and I wouldn't write the same script, and I was like, why does this video have a lot of views?
Yeah.
Like I thought it's a great video, but it's like anyway. But let me make that into a question.
Okay.
What happens to you when you look at your old videos? Or did you ever, it must happen sometimes.
I mean, it happens. Sometimes I have to look at an old video or an old blog post or even my old books or seminars that I've done just to kind of have some reference material for whatever reason. But honestly, most of the time I just cringe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't stand that dude because I'm not the same person anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like you said, the way you present things, the way you talk, the way you would script something. No, it's just as long as you keep evolving, I think you will always have that feeling when you look back at your old stuff. But if you're in your comfort zone, then maybe you won't even notice a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you should cringe when you look at your old
That's a
stuff.
good point.
That means it's proof that you've evolved.
A good point.
Yeah.
And those are the funny moments when you, and maybe that's my fault, but I look at my current stuff, and sometimes it's like I already cringe like from day one. But sometimes I look at it, I'm like, oh, this is a great video.
Yeah.
And then probably a few years down the road, I'll look at it and be like, fuck.
Right. Yeah.
Where do you draw inspiration from?
Where do I draw inspiration from? What I'm inspired by is what I don't see or find. So I guess a lot of people are inspired by what they see or find or experience. I'm inspired by the opposite, by the lack of something. So it inspires a creative urge in me to fill that void. So what inspires me is the void, the nothingness.
Right.
I guess. Because that means there's an opportunity for me to create something that didn't exist previously by combining my experiences into a new body of work that fulfills that need. Because I'm a creative dude. Yeah.
That kind of stuck with me just before we went on record, where you said, when I was kind of asking you like, what should we talk about, or what would be interesting to talk to you, for you to talk about, and you said it's all about bringing value to the audience. So it sounds like value is that an important term for you?
Yeah, it is. And in the beginning, when I started creating content, I didn't really think about that. It was all about me. Today I did this. Yeah. Today I did that. Because that's the way you would blog. Because that's what I started with.
There,
I guess we all start there. Yeah. But then I changed the me to you, and things became more interesting.
Right.
Because that's when I started learning instead of just talking about myself, essentially. Because now it's about others and their issues and struggles, and I can learn from that. Because there's a reason you have one mouth and two ears. Yeah.
Well, actually, our recent videos, quite a few of them blew up. I think It was like mid-COVID probably,
Uh-huh.
and I saw some.
Hey,
of your
don't use
videos.
the C word. You're gonna get banned off of YouTube.
Damn.
The disease.
Yeah, the thing, you know, everyone talks about. So yeah, a lot of your videos did really well. And I wonder, so was there something you changed, or was that maybe was related to what you just said, like that it's not me, you, or was there something
No,
else?
that was like 10 years ago when I
Okay.
realized that. Yeah, it's not like yesterday, hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it comes across, but no, I mean, I'm always inspired also, like from a YouTube point of view, by other YouTubers, of course, and trying to see how could I apply their formulas or their creative artistic interpretations of how they present content, but for a different audience with different material, and that material is martial arts, of course. So I guess maybe that's one of the reasons. I don't know. I'm always striving to learn from others and to create new ways of presenting material. Because, look, there's nothing new under the sun. Everything that needs to be said has been said in some way, shape, or form. We just need to find new creative ways of reaching a new generation to give them these timeless pieces of wisdom. And they've always been here. We just need to rediscover them.
Speaking of that, is there anyone you look up to?
Is there anyone I look up to? Well, it's hard to say. I don't really look up to people because I'm not a natural follower. I would say I'm more of a leader.
Yeah.
Because, and that's not because I like to lead people. It's just because I love doing things my own way. I'm an egomaniacal bastard. I don't know how you want to put it, but I just enjoy doing things my own way. And I don't like when other people keep telling me to do it their way. So in that sense, I don't really look up to people, I guess. It's a difficult question.
No, it's a good answer. Yeah,
I don't know.
It reminds me actually of this story. I think it's a different situation that was for me. But I was still running my Aikido school, and I went for this like 5-day hike where some people would come together with me. And there was this photographer, so we were walking for a long time, obviously having this long conversation about life. You know, you get philosophical as you hike. And I asked the question. I said he was talking about photography very passionately, and I asked him like, so is there anyone you look up to and like you take examples from? He was like, oh, there's so many people. I'm like, he's like, there's just too many, and he named a few, and I didn't see it coming. Like usually, sometimes you ask the question because you want somebody else to ask you that question, and I didn't have that at all. And he was like, what about you? And I was like, oh, okay. And I started thinking, and that was in my last couple of years of Aikido, but still in Aikido. And I realized, and he actually specifically asked me, who do you look up to in Aikido? Yeah. And I was like, I realized there was no one. There were people I respect, like Christian Tessier. There's this Aikido master who's like does really nice techniques. A couple other individuals. But I was like, but in the past, I'd look at them and I'd be like, oh my God, I want to be like him. And those days were over. Yeah. But for me, the thing is, I liked having like people that like I feel like they're there and that kind of pushes me forward. Like I consider actually you being one of those people, especially like with that mindset of not limiting yourself to one area, but being able to cover many areas. Like that pushes me. Like every time we meet and we start to talk and you tell me about the things you do and you ask me a couple of questions, I'm like, fuck, I'm not doing a good job. I'm focusing on this one small area. So that pushes me, that makes me think and go out of my comfort zone. But to finish the story, at that moment I realized I didn't have anyone. I think that was actually the moment where my major Aikido crisis started to happen, because I realized I wasn't like the best in the world, but there was nothing I was so passionate about, like, oh, there's still this or there's still that. I was more like, I was just teaching and I realized that I want to grow, and I'm not growing as much in Aikido as I wanted at the moment. So that's why I started searching, okay, so who can be that next person? And then they started, etc.
But if you start searching for people, I think that search is endless. Yeah. The search externally never ends. Perhaps not even internally, but I feel that ultimately the search has to turn inwards, because that's where I think the ultimate battle has to be fought, not outside, against yourself, meaning, and ultimately with yourself. That makes sense.
Yeah, can you tell me more?
Well, because your only limit is you, not anyone else, not other people. I mean, we can talk all day about our circumstances, our upbringings, our parents, yada, 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 shoulda, woulda, coulda. But at the end of the day, it's up to you. Nobody else. There's nothing outside of yourself that can ever enable you to get faster, stronger, richer, better. Nothing of that. I mean, it's you. That's my perspective. I take full responsibility.
I think that's a great perspective. And I wish I had that.
But that requires a leap of faith, because suddenly you have to start believing in yourself. Even if you don't think you can do something, you have to believe that there is a chance that you can do it. Otherwise, you will never try, and then you will never know. So you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
I think I'm probably like what you're saying, and I think I'm probably somewhere in the middle. Like I think
we all are. We're all a work in progress, but that's fine. There's a saying that your masterpiece will come when you master peace. Your masterpiece will come when you master peace.
Peace. Ah, okay. Peace.
Not the peace you eat.
Yeah.
I know you're a health nut, but you know.
No.
Okay. That kind of sums it up. Okay. Yeah, just let that marinate.
Oh yeah, that's what I thought. I'll just
it's like one of those Zen riddles. Yeah. And like the more you think about it, the deeper it gets. Yeah.
I'll just check if the camera temperature has risen. Stop shooting if you're in shoot mode. Fuck you.
You gotta leave that in.
I will. Now that you said it, I will. I think so.
So now we've been disturbed by both my mom and my brother. Next, my girlfriend will come probably, and
we
then
What frustrates you the most in martial arts community?
Wait, what frustrates me the most in the martial arts? Everything. That's why I have something to do.
Yeah.
If I wasn't frustrated by anything, there would be nothing for me to do. All I try to do is kind of create the kind of community, the martial arts community that I would like to have had back in the days. Because there were so many questions that were unanswered. So I try to basically just answer those questions for myself, and then in the process, share that journey with others. Kind of like what you're doing. I guess you're frustrated by a lot of things as well. And that can be a source of inspiration, right?
It's a great point. I didn't...
Look, if nothing frustrated you about Aikido, you wouldn't have a job. I don't know.
No, absolutely. You're absolutely right. I think, especially like if I look at my stuff, especially until a certain point, that was completely what was driving me.
Yeah.
I think I started to lose, because I did like a year break essentially from my channel. I think I started to lose that drive, because I reached a point where I felt like, at that point I felt like I did enough. I said what I wanted to say. I shared what I wanted to share, and it's like it just started to get repetitive. And I was like, you know, I'm just like, well, why would I keep repeating the same things? I just might as well just go and do something else. Eventually I started to realize that, okay, there is that message will never really hit people. You know, it's like there's always going to be more ground to cover. But beforehand, there was a strong frustration. I was like, how can people do this? And that would be like, I need to make a video about this. Those were some of the best videos where I was just like, I was mad, and I just had to do something about it. Now I think it's becoming a bit different. I'm obviously trying out a new type of format, and I think I'm not necessarily like, maybe I'm a little bit frustrated about something, and that I appreciate that the conversation brings that. So I started looking at vlogs, making vlogs, and I looked for other channels for some ideas, and like Casey Neistat, I think he's great. Like that's at the moment that's one of my inspirations, or like role models per se. Not too hard. I'm not relying on it too much, but anyway. Long story short, I looked at some other vlogs, and I was just like, I just couldn't watch them, because most of them were so self-absorbed. You know, it was just like, oh, look at me, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing that, and I'm like, and millions of people watch that, so I don't know, maybe I should do that.
It seems like people want to see that.
But well, at the same time, I hope not. I really hope not. But that's why I felt like that made me a bit frustrated. Not necessarily on those people, but I'm like, that's my thing. I'm like, I want to come out there with my, not necessarily entirely raw feelings and emotions, and because people don't want to see that. People don't want to see me cry, on camera for 20 minutes. And I learned like one of